We're holding over here in PARSHAS BEHA'ALOSCHA, and there's a lot to speak about in this week's Parsha, but we're going to hone in on one idea. Wow, that's pretty impressive. There's real fans over here. That's incredible. Mazel tov, mazel tov. You didn't bring the baby? No, okay, Mitzvah Hashem, next time. The pasuk says over here the following. The pasuk says, Al pi Hashem Yisu, Klal Yisrael is going through the wilderness. They have travels. They have 40 years of travels. And they went through different places throughout the desert, throughout the Midbar. And it says, Al pi Hashem Yisu b'nei Yisrael, according to the directive of Hashem, according to the word of Hashem, Klal Yisrael traveled. Al pi Hashem Yachanu, and according to the word of Hashem, Yachanu, they encamped. They traveled by Hashem's word, and they encamped by Hashem's word. Whenever the cloud of glory was resting on the Mishkan, on the tabernacle, they would Yachanu, they would encamp over there. So it's very simple. That's the way that it worked all of the 40 years in the Midbar. When the cloud lifted, that was a sign from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayisu, you have to travel. And when the cloud rested on the Mishkan, that was a sign, V'yachanu, you're supposed to encamp. And then the next pasuk, Ubahari che'onon ala Mishkan. And then when the cloud would extend its time over, it would linger over the Mishkan, Yomim Rabim, many days, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es mishmeres Hashem. The Jewish people would guard the mishmeres, they would guard the charge of Hashem. V'lo yiso, and they would not travel. And then the verse goes on, V'yesh asher yeh onam yomim mispar ala Mishkan. There were days when the cloud would be there a lot. Al pi Hashem yachnu, al pi Hashem yiso. They would encamp by Hashem, and they would travel by Hashem. The Ramban is bothered over here by the following question. The pasuk just finished telling us that the way that it worked in the Midbar was very simple. When the cloud lifted, they traveled. And when the cloud lingered on top of the Mishkan, they would stay put exactly where they are. Al pi Hashem yiso, according to the mouth, the word of Hashem, they would travel. Al pi Hashem yachanu, according to Hashem's charge, according to His command, they would rest, they would encamp. So why then does the next verse and the verse that come after that, why does it say that all of the days that the cloud was on the Mishkan, they would encamp? We already know that from the first one. And if the cloud would be on the Mishkan for many days, so then they would guard His words and they would encamp. We already know that from the first verse. The first verse teaches us that's how it worked in their travels. If it's up, you travel. If it's down, you encamp. Don't tell me again. And by the way, if the cloud would be there for a few days, they would stay. We know that. However long the cloud is going to be there, they're going to stay. So why does the Torah first tell me that if it would lift up, it would raise up, they would move, if it would rest down on the Mishkan, they would travel, and then seemingly repeat itself all over again? Says the Ramban the following idea. Loimar, it's coming to teach you. Kim yarich ha'anan ala Mishkan yomim rabim. If the cloud would linger on the Mishkan, on the tabernacle, for many days, even if the place where they were was not so good in their eyes, they weren't such fans of camping in the forest of Big Bear, what could they do? That's exactly where the cloud rested over there at that time. So what should they do? They very much and badly wanted to leave that place and travel somewhere else. They didn't like the surroundings. They didn't like the ground. They didn't like the air. They didn't like the climate. They didn't like the camping, the sleeping bags. They weren't excited about it. So they really wanted to travel. Afal PK, nevertheless, Lo ya'avru al ritzoin Hashem. They did not transgress and go against the will of Hashem. V'zeh tam, and that's why it says v'shomru b'nei Yisrael es mishmeres Hashem v'lo yiso. That's why it says that the children, the Klal Yisrael, the b'nei Yisrael, they would keep the charge of Hashem, and they would not journey. Ki mi yiras Hashem, because of their great fear and their awe of Hashem. Umishamra mishmeres mitzvasa, and because they were keeping the mitzvah, the charge of the Rebbeinu Shalom, lo yisau, they would not leave. Meaning, you think that the reason they didn't leave is because the cloud was lingering over the place where they were. And that's what it says in the first pasuk over here, that whenever the cloud was resting on the Mishkan, they would stay. Whenever it was lifted up, they would move. So now comes along the pasuk, it says, and if it was there for a long time, they would stay there for a long time, and if it would lift up, then they would move. So clearly they can't move because Hashem said not to move. And the cloud is still there. You can't move if the cloud is there. Says the Ramban, you know what it's coming to teach you? It's coming to teach you that even though that Klal Yisrael got stuck in places that they didn't like, there were parts, there were legs of the journey that were uncomfortable, that were not to their liking. Nevertheless, since that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, this is where you belong, this is where you need to stay, this is where you're going to encamp right now, Klal Yisrael stayed there not so much because the cloud was hovering over the camp, but rather because this is what and where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted them to be. Says the Ramban further. V'chein, so too later it says in the pasuk, Im ya'anan yamim mispar, if the cloud would be on top of the Mishkan for many days, Kishanim or shloisha yamim, 2 or 3 days. Vayu'am yegeyim ma'oid v'ina b'derech koicham. Now understand what's going on. It was long travel sometimes. So they are traveling along, and they had to pack everything up, and then they're going on the next leg of the journey. And Hashem says, oh, right here you're going to camp. You're going to stay over there. So now they're there for 2 days, 3 days, and the people are very tired, and they want to rest. They would like to stay over there where they are. However, if the cloud would then suddenly lift up after 3 days, as tired as they were, as uncomfortable as they were, as drained as they were from the journeys, from the travels, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, move, you got to move. Al pi Hashem yiso, according to the mouth and the word and the directive and the charge of Hashem, we will travel, even if we're not in the mood to travel. Ve'al pi Hashem, and according to Hashem, yachanu, we will rest, even if we're not interested in resting in such a place. The journeys that Klal Yisrael took while they were in the Midbar, where everything was HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, now you belong here. Are you getting comfortable? Sorry, it's time to get up and move. Yeah, but I'd like to stay here. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's not where you belong right now. You need to start moving and going someplace else. And now you are moving and you're traveling. And Hashem says, oh, you got to this place, terrain very rough. The weather's a little bit cold over there. There's no place really to rest and lay down. That's where you're going to lay down right now. Yeah, but Hashem, I don't like it over here. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Api Hashem Yachanu, according to me, you're going to lay down and you're going to rest and you're going to encamp. Says the Ramban, all of these psukim are coming to show us that Klal Yisrael's reverence for the Rebbeinu Shalom and their understanding that I don't always know what is the place where I belong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that's where you go. I'm going to listen to Hashem. And therefore he goes on to explain. I won't read all the words, but he explains that you should know. Sometimes they stayed in a place only one night. It was very difficult. You know what it's like to go camping, Bob? No, but if you would know what it's like to go camping, you would know. You got to pack up all of your sleeping bag, and you have to pack up the what do you call it, the blow-up mattress, and then you got to get all of the food, and the cereal, and the meat, and the water bottles, and the cans, and the this, and the that, and the basketballs, and the darts, and all the arrows, and everything you need, and the fishing poles. And you load it all up in the car, and you travel all the way to where you're going. It's a big tirch, it's a lot to do. And you get there, and what do you start doing right away? You start to unpack and unload, and you start to make yourself very comfortable. If you could get comfortable camping, you start to make yourself very comfortable. And then suddenly says Hashem, sorry, it's time to pack up and move on to the next place. This is not the right place for you to be. Says the Ramban, sometimes the cloud would just be there for one day and night. They would travel the whole night, get somewhere in the morning, the cloud would rest there all day, and then in the morning it would raise up, and then they have to travel again. And it was very, very difficult for them because they were packing and unpacking and doing and going here and there. Says the Rambam, but you know what? Klal Yisrael, all the years that they were in the Midbar, they never complained to Hashem about the travels that they had to take. Every step that they took, everywhere that they went, every time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifted the cloud, as much as they were not in the mood to travel, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu says travel, you go. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to rest, you rest. If Hashem says 2 days, it's 2 days. He says 1 year, it's 1 year. He says it's one night. And in the morning you got to move. I'm ready to move. Says the Ramban, that's what you should know from these psukim over here, that the Klal Yisrael was doing constantly the ratzon, the will of the Ribbono Shel Olam. Yes, of course, the way that it looks is cloud settles, you can't move. Cloud raises, you can move. No, that's not what it means. It means the cloud settled in a place, I don't want to be there, but you know what? Hashem wants me to be here. The cloud says, move. Hashem says, go. I'm not in the mood to leave. No, but Hashem is telling me to move, so I'm going to move because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. The Mefarshei HaTorah, when they go through these psukim over here, they tell us that this in fact really is the journeys of a person here in this world. Al pi Hashem yisou, according to the Ribbono Shel Olam, you are going to travel. Ve'al pi Hashem yachanu, and according to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are going to encamp. There are going to be times in your life that you are traveling, you are moving, you are going, you are successful, you are producing. Things are gewaldic, they're incredible. And you are riding the wave together with the Ribbono Shel Olam. But there are times in your life, ve'yachanu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, stay still, sit tight, you're going to be exactly where you are. But Hashem, I don't want to be here. But I'm HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I run the world. And I know where you belong, when you belong, exactly at what time you should be there. And therefore, stay put exactly where you are at this moment. So we make a bracha every single morning that really alludes to this idea. You probably recall from hours ago when we woke up and we came to shul and we said in Birchas HaShachar, Baruch Atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, our God, Master of the universe, King of the universe, Hamechin mitza'adei gover, HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepares the steps of man. Now we make this bracha every single day. That means while you are still waking up in the morning, so you make this bracha. Does a person ever stop to themselves and think, what exactly am I saying? What am I saying when I'm blessing HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Hamechin mitza'adei gover, you are the one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that prepares the steps of man in this world. That means my steps. Every step that I'm going to take today, everywhere that I'm going to go, every ounce of traffic that is going to be on the 101, I'm going to get stopped for 10 minutes. And every time that I'm trying to pull into a parking space and somebody else takes it, and every time that I thought the business was going well and suddenly it's not going so well, every little place that I go in my life, every single day, Hamechin mitza'adei gover, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one, He's preparing the steps that I'm taking in life. What exactly does that mean? So in the Siddur of the Eitzah Tefillos, he brings down, there's two psukim that you need to look at in Ksuvim, And then you'll understand better what this bracha is talking about in the morning. And number one, he says, take a look in Tehillim. In Tehillim Lamed Zayin, number 37, Pasuk Chav Gimel, and Pasuk Chav Dalet, 23 and 24. Says the Pasuk, Me Hashem mitza'adei gever. It's Hashem that prepares the steps of man. Koinenu, v'darko yechbatz, and it's in His path, in Hashem's path, that a person should desire. HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepares the steps of man, and you should desire to go in the derech, in the pathways of Hashem. Ki yipol lo yutol, because even though that man may fall, he will not be cast down. Ki Hashem soymech yado, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu upholds His hand. Says Rav Hirsch on these two psukim over here the following idea. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself has prescribed the direction in which the steps of man should take. Do you think you're taking your own steps in this world? Do you think you're going where you want to go and doing what you want to do? There's a Rebbeinu Shalom who's running the world. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is directing and He is guiding your steps in the direction that He wants best for you. And a person should not desire a path in his life that I devised for myself. Rather, I should desire the path that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself has set before me. It's not about the direction I want to go in. It's about the direction that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to go in. And therefore, says the pasuk over here, Hashem prepares the steps of man. V'darko yechbatz, you should desire the path of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And then he writes over here that even if a person will stumble, and even if they will fall on the road that leads to the Rebbeinu Shalom, a person will never be cast down entirely, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu holds on to his hand, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will uphold him so that he'll be able to rise once more. We go through pathways in life, and it looks like it's the wrong path. I'm going in the wrong direction. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu took me over here, I have no idea what is going on. Rebbeinu Shalom. Says the pasuk, wait a second, who's preparing your steps? Do you think you're preparing your steps? Do you think you're choosing which direction to go in? The Rebbeinu Shalom is the one that prepares all of the steps of man. And if we would merely desire more the path that Hashem wants for me, then you will find yourself walking along the pathway, not on your own individual path by yourself. You'll be walking together with Hashem. And if Chalila, a person will ever stumble, and if they will ever fall, or if they will ever get weak, and if they will ever feel the pressure that's going on, you should know that as long as you are walking together with Hashem, He will never let go of you. That's one pasuk, one place that it says that we should look. The other one is in Mishlei. And in Mishlei it says the following words. Mishlei says, Me Hashem mitza'adei gover, from Hashem the steps of man are prepared. Va'adam ma yavin darkai. What does a man understand about the path that he is on anyway? Says Shlomo HaMelech in Mishlei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepares your steps, and you will see sometimes that you're going in a direction that makes no sense at all. Ma'yovin Darko, do you actually understand the way that you are going? And the Malbim over here says a fascinating thing. It's a fascinating idea. The Malbim writes like this. Ki hagam shabechir livcha be'eza derech yelech, even though that everybody has the ability to choose whatever path they want to go on, Biyada adam lahayamin or l'smol. You want to go to the right or the left? That's your choice. Hashem gives you a choice in your life. Which direction would you like to go? Because that nevertheless, achar shetinuas haragolim hu haraglaim meis Hashem v'koichai. Since that the movements of your legs and your body and your life really is based upon what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, it is possible, listen to these words, that even though you want to go this way, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to stop you from going in that direction. Even though you're convinced this is so good for me, it's the right decision. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that's in charge. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to, He will block you from moving in that particular direction. And he writes over here, Im kein adam hayovin darkai. What does a person really understand anyway? Shagam shenidme lo shedarcha toiva. Even though that to me it looks like the way is very good. V'yaskim al derech hatoiv levi'avonasai. To me I would say this is the right way to go. This is the right job, this is the right house to live in, this is the right city to go to, this is the right girl to date, this is the right thing, I'm sure it's perfect. Hu libli hoyel, but without HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help, she'ikar toloi toli biyad Hashem al-goymer es ha'pu'ula v'zeh yisalim pa'amim rabas min ha'adam. The only way you're really going to move in this world, the only way you're going to be able to go forward in this world is if HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides that's the direction that you should go in. Sometimes you will see a ikuv, you'll see a delay in your path. And it looks like it's bad. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu really is the one that is guiding all of your paths. The Gemara says, Kol ikuva l'toiva. Every ikuv, every delay in life, every hurdle that you don't overcome in life, every U-turn and every detour that you have to take in life, l'toiva, it's all for the good. Why is it for the good? Because there's a Rabbi Shalom. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided this is what is best for you. If in fact HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted me to be someplace else, I would be someplace else. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that to work out in that direction, it would have worked out in that direction. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted me to be over here, then I would have been over here. So why am I here? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed this is the place where I belong. And therefore, al pi Hashem yiso, according to the Ribbono Shel Olam, you will travel, and according to the Ribbono Shel Olam yachenu, you will stop. You will encamp. You will stay exactly where you are. Says the Malbim, umayovin ha'adam asher tevunasai ktsar lahasig. How can a person understand why he's moving in this direction or that direction? Why things didn't work out the way that he wants? Because his das, his understanding, is very limited and we cannot see the bigger picture. Today they have drones, and the drones are flying overhead, and they are taking in the entire panoramic scene that is going on. When I'm on the road, all I can see is that which is in front of me. I can't see beyond me. I can't see this way. I can't see that way. I only see a small amount. The drone is overhead and it sees everything that is going on. In our lives, we are very one-dimensional. We're very short-sighted in what it is that we can see and we can't see. So you think that you're going down the right path, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu's got the drone. He's looking far into the distance. And he sees that if you go down this path in your life, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. That's not going to be good for you. You think it is going to be good for you because you're convinced you know better than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem says, I need to show you that you're wrong. You have bechira, you have free choice and free will, you can do whatever you want, and you chose to go in this direction. But Hashem says, I like you more than you like yourself. I care about you more than you care about yourself. I know what danger is more than you know, and therefore I'm going to stop you right now so that you will not go in that direction, because it's really not the way that you think it is. Rav Shlomo Brev the Zatzal was once walking late at night down the streets in Bnei Brak. And he was walking and he couldn't see because there were no lights, there were not so many street lights. And as he's walking down the street, he recalls somewhere around here, there's like a drop. There's like a staircase or like a little cliff and a big drop. And he says to himself, I don't remember exactly where that is. Maybe I should slow down, I should try to see. So Rebbe stops and he inches his foot one step forward. And as he inches his foot one step forward, he feels nothing. And he realizes exactly at the place that he needed to stop so that he would not go tumbling down this mountainside over there. He ended up stopping. And that's really everybody's story in life, that there are pitfalls, and there are danger signs, and there are serpents along the road. And even though that we think that we're going in the right direction, HaKadosh Baruch Hu very often will get in the way, stand in the way and say, stop. Api Hashem Yachinu, you have to stop. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And there are times in our life when we think maybe we should be sitting still and not doing much and taking it easy and staying away. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, now it's time to move. Vayisu, you have to start moving. You have to go do something. Klal Yisrael, remember they were standing by the foot of the sea, and the sea was not ready to split. And Klal Yisrael begins crying. What else does the Jew do? They cry out to Hashem. And Hashem says, I don't want to hear your tefillos. This is not a time to sit still. Vayiso, that's the language over there. Vayiso, travel. Go right now. A person has to have bold steps in their life to make sure that they're doing the right thing. And therefore, this is the story of life. Everything that we do is going al pi Hashem, according to the word and the charge of Hashem. We just have to be wise enough to see the derech, the pathway that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is setting up for us. If we want badly to walk down the derech Hashem, then you will walk down the derech Hashem. If we are not willing to walk down the derech Hashem, we want to take matters in our own hands, who says you're going to travel when you should travel? And who says you're going to stop when you should stop? Who says you will be able to make the right move at the right time? And who says you won't be making the wrong move at the wrong time because you're not listening to Hashem? Says the Torah, says the Ramban, you should know, Klal Yisrael had no complaints. Wherever HaKadosh Baruch Hu took them in life, they did not complain. They were makabel, they accepted 100%, even though we'd rather stay here and stay put and not do anything right now and just relax. Hashem wants us to move. And even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we would rather move, Hashem wants us to stay. And therefore, if Hashem is the one that is running the show, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that's leading us in that direction, then certainly, Al Pi Hashem, Yisrael Hashem Yachanu, I'm going in the right way. We mentioned the other week in our Shabbos class that when the Mir Yeshiva was traveling from Europe and they ended up eventually in Shanghai, so the one that was in charge of all of the decisions that were going on was of Chatzkel Levenstein Zeichat Tzadik Livracha. And it was a constant journey that they had to be on, stopping and going, stopping and going. And they asked him once, how do you always know what's the right time to move? How do you know to call the shots? And it always works out. He says, very simple. He says, the night before we're supposed to move, I have a dream. My Rebbe, Rav Yerucham Levovitz, comes to me in a dream and he tells me, Chatzkel, it's time to move. You guys got to go. It's dangerous right now. And that's how they were. So they bring down that over there, one of the ways that they were able to get out of Europe, to be able to get to the port city, to be able to get to the boats, and they should be able to get to Shanghai, was that there was a railroad that had been built for many, 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 many years. And a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort was spent on this railroad. And it was never used. And the Mir Yeshiva ended up occupying the cars. And they got into the cars, and it took them all the way around, so they didn't have to go through the main towns and stop at the borders. They went all the way around. And they got to the end, and eventually, Baruch Hashem, they were able to escape. When the Nazis found out what took place with this train, they dismantled the entire train track so that nobody would have a chance to travel on that train anymore. Al Pi Hashem Yisrael. That train track was created just for the Mir Yeshiva, just for all those Bachrim. A lot of the Torah that we have in the world today is from those Talmidim, from those students who survived the war. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now it's time to travel. Sometimes it's time to stay still. But as long as you're following what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, then you know, like it says in the pasuk over here, you're always going in the right path. It's only when we try to take matters into our own hand, and then we see that things don't work out, and we were so sure that it's going to work out, how could it be that it doesn't? And we begin to get angry with the Rebbeinu of the things that He has done. It's only there that we realize we're not traveling al pi Hashem. We're traveling al pi, we're traveling on our own word, the destination that we have in mind. How do we know that the destination that we have in mind is the right place to go? How many stories, I remember when I was in Eretz Yisrael many years ago as a yeshiva bacher. So there was a tekufa, we're talking about close to maybe 30 years ago, there was a period of time where there were numerous bus bombings that were taking place. The Arabs would just get on a bus and they would blow themselves up, and they're blowing up everybody who's on the bus together with them. And they had like shrapnel they had nails in their bombs, and the nails would shoot out and it would just go into people, it would destroy them for life. So there was a story that surfaced after one of the bus bombings in Yerushalayim. There was a Russian immigrant, mother and her son were on the bus. And they were traveling by the bus, and they get to a stop, and the son says to his mother, "Get off the bus!" And she says, "What are you talking about? We're traveling together." He says, "Get off the bus!" She says, "My dear son, what do you say?" And he pushes his mother, he says, "Get off the bus!" And he pushes her out the doors, and the doors close, and she's standing by the doors looking at her son, and he's on the bus. And the bus goes down another 100 feet or so, blows up. And the mother's life was saved. Because al pi Hashem Yisrael, a person travels according to the Rebbeinu Shalom, v'yachanu, and they rest according to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And you don't always know what is best for you, but trust Hashem. Hashem knows which direction you're supposed to be going in. He knows where there's blockage, and He knows where you should move. He knows what deal is good and which one is bad. He knows which relationship is healthy for you and which one is dangerous. He knows it all. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu pushes you in one direction, go in the direction. If He stops it, listen to the Rebbeinu Shalom. How many times HaKadosh Baruch Hu warns us again and again and again and again, and we don't always understand the messages that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends our way, but we have to learn we're traveling in this world according to Hashem. And the more that we embrace that, the more that we see that, the more we're going to be traveling on the derech of Hashem, on His pathway, and the more successful is our life going to be. I want to end off over here with a fascinating story. It goes back to about the year 1549. So we're talking about almost 500 years ago. It took place in Fez, Morocco. And there were 3 Gedolei Yisrael that were living in Morocco at this time. One was named Rav Shimon Levi, the other one was Rav Masud Alfasi, and the third was Rav Ruvain Peretz. They were all Gedolim. They were leading the community. They were responsible for the Torah, for the Avodah, for the Musar, for the Ruach, for everything. But all 3 of them were getting older. And as they began looking at themselves, and they each recognized their hairs in their beard were getting quite white, they all had the same exact dream. And the dream was they would like to spend their final years living in Eretz Yisrael. Imagine what they accomplished in Torah outside of Eretz Yisrael. Imagine what their tefillahs were like outside of Eretz Yisrael. Imagine the Kabbalah, the high lofty levels of mysticism they learned outside of Eretz Yisrael. Imagine if they would be walking the streets of Yerushalayim HaKodesh. Or they'll be in the holy city of Tzfas, where the Arizal was. Imagine, they said. And so the three of them got together, and they made a revolutionary decision. At this late stage in their lives, they're going to leave behind their communities. They're going to leave behind their yeshivas. They're going to even leave behind some of the family. And they're going to make the arduous journey to Eretz Yisrael. Which, by the way, that there were no planes at this time. And the boats were primitive. And the journey was mostly by foot. And it was very dangerous and very difficult and very hard. And they were not such spring chickens, but they decided this is what they're going to do. So these three Gedolim set out on their journey. They say farewell to their communities, to their yeshivas, to their shuls, to the family members that are not going to come. They said farewell. Of course, they didn't just leave the place destitute. They left it in the hands of very capable people that would fulfill their place, but they left. And they're traveling. And as they're traveling, filled with great hope, anticipation, a mood that they're going to get there, it was a very long journey. And the first few days of the journey was very difficult travel. They find themselves in Tripoli, Libya. And when they get to Tripoli, they begin looking around, and they can't believe what they see. Tripoli was known for generations to be an extremely religious community, with great Talmid Chachamim scholars, with tremendous Yiras Shamayim. And they begin looking around the city of Tripoli, and they see it's totally destitute. The Jews there don't know anything. There's no shuls, there's no yeshivas, there's no learning that's going on. They don't know kashrus, they don't know an aleph from a base, they don't know anything. And it was very disturbing for these Gedolim. They couldn't believe, could it be such a thing? Tripoli, which once a bustling metropolis of ruchnius, of spirituality, now it looks like this. They couldn't believe it. And they went and they laid down for sleep that night, but very, very bothered. In the morning, the first of these Gedolim, Rav Shimon Lavi, he looks at his friends as they're about to embark on their journey to continue to Eretz Yisrael, and he says, "You're going to leave without me." And they said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "I know that my dream has been to go to Eretz Yisrael. But he said, I'm seeing what's going on here in Tripoli." And he says, "How could I leave my fellow Jews by themselves? How could I leave them in a wasteland of spirituality? How could I do such a thing?" He said, "I need to rebuild this place. We need to make yeshivas. We need to make davening. We have to teach them what a mitzvah is." And he says to his friend, "Al pi Hashem yachanu. According to Hashem, you're going to encamp. I'm staying here. And you should go on without me." And they try to talk him out of it. He says, No. I made up my mind last night. I'm staying here. And they kiss each other farewell. And the friends begin traveling on. And Rav Shimon Lavi stays there in the city of Tripoli. And over years and years and years, he rebuilds the place to its original glory. And it is now a bustling metropolis of ruchnius, of Torah, and of mitzvahs. And now the other two great tzaddikim, Rav Masud and Rav Reuven, are traveling on the way to Eretz Yisrael. As they're traveling, they end up stopping in Tunisia. And when they get to Tunisia, the same exact story. Tunisia was known for generations, bustling, growing, Talmid Chachamim, tzaddikim. And it is totally desolate and empty. And they come in there, they're so disturbed, they're so bothered, they can't believe what it looks like. And in the morning, Rav Masood says to his friend, he said, I can't leave. How can I leave the Jews of Tunisia when they have nothing going on over here? Not a yeshiva, not a mitzvah, not a mikveh, there's nothing. I cannot leave. And so he says, I'm staying over here. You continue to travel on your own to Eretz Yisrael. And they bid farewell. And so now Reb Reuven is all by himself on a very dangerous journey to the land of Israel. And he's traveling and traveling and traveling until he gets to a place called Derba, which is one of the far-off places in Tunisia. And he comes to Derba and suddenly he sees a scene that has repeated itself now 3 times. No yeshiva, no shuls, the Jews are ignoramuses, nobody knows anything. The place that was once bustling and now it's empty. And he says, well, Rav Shimon stopped first in wherever he was. Rav Shimon stopped originally in Tripoli, and Rav Masood stopped in Tunisia. I'm stopping now in Derba. I'm not leaving this place. And these 3 Gedolei Yisrael, with all of their dreams to go to Eretz Yisrael and end their life off over there, each one said, V'yachanu al pi Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided this is where we're going to stop. And each one was zeicha to build and rebuild beautiful communities that were filled with the riches of Torah and of mitzvahs, and went on to become, for many, many, many years to come, strong and powerful communities over there in that region of the world. You think you're traveling one place? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. You're traveling somewhere else. You think that's what's best for you? Hashem says, no, you don't understand. This is what is best for you. You think you need this? Hashem says, no, you don't need that. You need this right now. You think you need success? Maybe a little failure is better. You think you're a failure? I'm going to make you succeed. I'll turn things around in your life. Says the Ribono Shel Olam, Al Pi Hashem Yisou, wherever you go in life, go according to what Hashem says. And wherever you stop in life, wherever you rest in life, you do that Al Pi Hashem. The Vilna Gaon tried 2 or 3 times to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he was excited to go. And he wrote his wife and his mother a beautiful long letter that we call the Igeres HaGra, the letter of the Vilna Gaon, where he described his feelings of going to Eretz Yisrael. And he told them, when I get there, and I said, I'm going to send for you, so you better start preparing yourself, because the land of Israel is like no other place in the world. Get ready for the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. He tried, and he was denied. He tried again, and something happened along the way. He didn't work out. And he said, Al Pi Hashem Yisou, Al Pi Hashem V'yachanu, a person will rest. The ikuvim, the blockage, the stoppage, the delays and the detours in life, it's not wrong, and it's not bad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over a person. He knows exactly what is best for them. And if Im Yetz Hashem, we will follow the trail of our life, and we will see the Yad of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even like the Malbim says, if you chose to go in a certain way, and it doesn't work out, you should know it didn't work out because Hashem decided that is not the right place for you to go. And if we'll just live with this amunah, and we'll follow through with this trust in the Ribono Shel Olam, and we'll actually believe, like we say in the bracha, Hamechin mitza'adei gover, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one preparing my steps every single day, then every day, with every step that you take, you'll be zeicha to walk together with Hashem.